Before we actually start, I just want to say something for the cameras. So this is actually your thing. I want to make sure that people understand this. This is not Age of Reason or anything like that.
Yes.
This is Drew's thing. I have no idea what it's about, but anyway, let's talk.
JC Goloubev.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce it right again this time?
You did. Perfect.
Yeah, that's right. This isn't a Age of Reason podcast, and it isn't a Frozen Frames production. I'm here from Australia, and I met you a couple of years ago. For you to return on my podcast show for the second time. How are you?
Good. Yeah, and you in fact came back on mine last week, so we keep exchanging. And
it was good. You know, I said to you on your podcast that we just did the second time that you were the one that inspired me to start my own show.
Right.
And it has changed my entire life. So when I helped you film your film, which is so cool to say.
Yeah.
But it's better when you say it. Requiescat in pace.
Requiescat in pace.
See, I can't say it still.
Well, it's Italian, so.
Please say it again.
Requiescat in pace.
Nice. Very nice. Well, when I answered a call up in the internet to help you film, and I was like, what's this guy doing in the middle of Japan, and what are we filming? And we made some tape that day, and then you said, hey, what about on Friday you come along and help me with this new podcast idea?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we actually spoke about this in the last episode.
Yes.
Potentially, but I like to tell people when I speak to them on my show how they inspire me. The word podcast had already stuck in my mind on something that I was really interested in.
Yeah.
And when I found someone I actually, like a real person, that was doing a podcast, I remember going almost sneakily, like, oh my God, here's a chance for me to secretly get some information. Right. And I even took some photos around room. Yeah, around some room. And a little, at the time I'm thinking, I'm definitely going to, absorb these photos. Here is a guy doing it himself.
Right.
Okay, and of course you've been doing this stuff for years in film schools and
you've actually seen a part of the film, and you know that, for example, in the introduction I actually speak in Latin.
Yeah, I've actually asked you this time around to speak about your film because though I did help you out there, it is out now.
Yeah.
But I only saw it for the first time last night.
For thousands of years, religions have ruled the earth, creating personal, national, and international conflicts, as well as mind-controlling the population to create political and ideological divide. In this documentary, I will show how religion hinders the moving cogs of scientific progress and uses its foggy and primitive irrationality to endanger reason.
I told you instantly, I'm 10 minutes in and I cannot stop. JC, It's been an hour and a half. I haven't even, I'm still thirsty. I haven't left for the kitchen at all. So I'm over the moon that my name is on that. I can't believe I want to thank you straight away to say that you put my little name in the little, at the front there to help with on the cameras because it's a great piece of art.
Yeah.
And it does start with you speaking Italian. I want to congratulate you because what a legacy to leave behind. People talk about all the time about what they do with their lives.
Sure.
And we know for a fact in Japan here that you only have to be on a train to start to look at people. What are they doing with their life? Like I really want to get into your filmmaking.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got you have put a great bit of film on it, and I want to believe that I'm staring at a guy whose life's about to change. You know what I'm saying? Like I asked you on the train just now, like who else has made a film about the topic of religion and to really break it down and almost to make people look silly. Like any atheist will agree with that topic. Has anyone else made a film like that?
Well, Bill Maher made Religious, right? I don't know if you watched that. But for me, actually, Religious was the inspiration. And I looked at it, I was watching it, and I'm thinking, okay, I can do that. I mean, I can do at least that. In my mind later, though, I'm thinking, well, I can do better. Because the first time I watched Bill Maher's movie, I was amazed. For me, it was like, wow, there's a guy who made a documentary about religion out there. It's amazing. But then the second time I watched it, I realized that the movie kind of trails a lot in really irrelevant things that maybe the first time was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But the second time you listen to that, it's just not the same impact. So I wanted to make a film that tries to not trail as much as possible. Let's just stick to the topic.
I'm thinking to your benefit, when I think of Bill Maher, you either like him or hate him because he is already a personality.
Oh yeah.
So like when Michael Moore came along, and
Yeah.
you know he's the great documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
for whatever people think of him now,
Yeah.
because people know who he is, they're either annoyed by him or not. Well, you're that guy.
Yes.
No one technically knows who you are, and you've made an epic
Yeah.
with a huge topic.
Yeah.
My question is, are you ready for a storm of hate from the religious, and but be boasted up by everyone to say, thank you, JC, you've made something that we can all agree with?
You know, I did my podcast for about two years now, and obviously we try to do a show every month, and we take a break for summer because in Japan it's too hot. But you know, I run a big page on Facebook. There's almost 15,000 likes on it. That means that 15,000 people technically can see everything that I post on it. Doesn't mean that they will click or something like that, but at least it appears on their feed. So I think those 2 years kind of trained me for what you're talking about.
Okay.
I actually never, so far anyway, I've never had a death threat. I've had some of the usual insults you can expect, but I don't take them seriously because these are absolutely generic insults that anybody would get, not just me, but just any atheist or agnostic person out there. So I just don't dwell on it, you know. Now, when I started doing the show, and in fact you were, of course, on episode number 1, and I think for the first 8 shows or something, I didn't really know what I was talking about because it was so new to me. I'm not exposed to it at all, so I haven't really read the Bible back then. Definitely not any other holy book. So people picked up on that, and they were like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I had no defense back then. It's like, well, yeah, they got me there. I really don't know what I'm talking about. But, you know, this is normal. You start a new project, it takes time to get into it. Okay, me, it took maybe 8 or 9 shows to really iron out the structure of the show. And you've been on the last show. You've seen probably the transformation was in front of your eyes from the first show to now. When the first show we were both kind of panicky and didn't know what to say. And this time it was just smooth sailing. There was no issue, no stopping.
Were you careful to avoid Islam?
This was something that was discussed during the pre-production stage, obviously. Like, do we actually want to talk about it? My answer was yes. I mean, why should we ignore it when it's definitely, I think, the first or the second biggest religion in the world, so you cannot just skip it, you know. And they do many, obviously, bad things, just like any religion, for that matter. But yeah, you can't skip it. You have to talk about it, and I did. And I even used a very controversial guy in one of the video clips because Geert Wilders is this Dutch politician. I don't know if he still is or was. Now it's not like I follow those people anyway. But he is very controversial because basically he says, you know, if a Muslim commits some crime, it's not just he drew a graffiti or something. No, it's some crime. So he probably stole something or even murdered somebody. So then we should kick them out of the country. So that is very controversial if you tell that to liberal people. But actually, I think that's probably the appropriate thing to do. If you refuse to adhere to the values of that country, then they have every right to deport you.
Okay, so back to the film.
Yeah.
How do you? How long did it take you to film, and how do you keep the passion for a single topic, and to finish? We all know someone who is going to make a book, going to finish, going to do something.
Oh yeah.
I rate people who finish things. Like an old guy once said to me, "A builder gets paid when he's finished."
Right.
You must finish everything.
Right. Well, I try to finish everything that I start. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I had an actress come here from relatively far away just to do one shot that I was missing from a short film I did 10 years ago. But, this was the last shot, so without it, I actually cannot complete the film. So this is how far I will go to finish some projects. But this movie was really a journey, because you spend at least, I think in my case it was 2 years of my life just trying to figure out the location. Where can we go to shoot this? Because in Japan it's not so easy. You can't just show up somewhere and start shooting. You may have police that come along and say, hold on there, what are you doing? It happens, if you don't have permit especially. So
You would you say that you're an awkward character? I'm saying we spoke about your upbringing.
Yeah.
In the middle of a farm, perhaps, or
pretty much, yeah.
Well, the reason I ask you is because watching you in the film, when you're speaking to camera, it's a great moment that not a lot of people could get. People like Bill Maher couldn't get, because he's the showman. He's the stand-up comic that you can almost see him planning the joke.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I'm getting shivers now. That when I'm watching your film, and I somewhat know you, I know you enough to think I know you, but watching you deadpan to camera, I was like, here's a very strong character. This is a which a lot of people on the street wouldn't pick up on straight away.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a definite advantage that I want a lot of people, particularly in Australia. The first thing I'll do is get a bunch of tapes from you to show you. I think we need to get the ball rolling for this film.
Yeah. I think so. I think that there were some just very basic filmmaking challenges. Obviously I'm not doing the camera, so that's the first worry. I have to worry about where do I come in, and this is very stressful actually, because I had to remember those parts of the script. I didn't use a teleprompter, which is probably why it looks more human, because I am really just, I'm not reading it off somewhere. I really have it just in my mind. But so this kind of things, like you have to get into the camera at a certain place, it just adds stress on the day. It's very uncomfortable. But and there were some parts where I did use a teleprompter. That was much later, where I actually decided to get one. And for example, we did a shot in Tokyo near the Emperor's Palace, and actually over there when we were shooting, some security guy came and it's like, well, what are you doing? But we just said, well, I'm just leaving the country soon, so I'm just taking some
tourist.
Yeah, some memory video, But actually, I was doing a bit of my movie. But unfortunately, that shot, for example, was messed up initially. It was blurry. I forgot to check the focus, which is another thing you have to stress about. And we did it on a green screen at home later. So just me, camera, green screen, and teleprompter. And there I was actually reading, because I was so tired already. I can't memorize this whole block again.
Right, so it is.
But the teleprompter is a bit risky actually, and this might be interesting for people listening right now who want to jump into this business. I'm kind of explaining to you the details right now. The teleprompter, I'm actually doing a course right now on the internet about the origins of life, which is very difficult, but it's so interesting. And all the lecturers on that course, they read off the teleprompter, and you can just see that they stand there motionless and just with the remote, right, because they have to flip to the next slide, and they just stand like that, and they're just waiting to push that button, and it just feels so unnatural, so.
Right, so they aren't actually storytelling.
Yeah.
They aren't fumbling for the last millisecond to get that word out that explains. I understand exactly what you're saying. I love I actually love mistakes. You know,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this podcast show, I'll keep some of those bell chimes ringing because I know that that's the most engaging
Yeah.
stuff. Like, it just is.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the people that make those horrible YouTube channels which are just... And you know that they're like the Coca-Cola of filmmaking.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they'll come and go and to me anyway.
Yeah.
When it comes to audio and...
Well, I was actually interested because last night you were watching the movie and you commented on the audio, and well, thank you. I put a lot of work into that. Again, for people who want to make videos out there, make sure that you use a good microphone from the beginning, because what I had to do is basically go back later and re-record all the voice and then match it to my lip movement. This was the only way. It was either that or we have to literally redo like 70% of my stand-ups, as I call them. So
I'm glad you did.
yeah,
Because isn't there nothing worse than, especially in the film that you have, where there are a lot of, say, outtakes
Yeah.
from certain parts of history.
Yep.
The last thing you want is a noisy street
Right.
where you're constantly talking to camera with this noisy temple or what. It locked everything into a zone.
Yeah.
It gives the film a particular aura.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. You would have spent hundreds of hours. I could imagine it and see it right in this room, no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, at all times of night and day.
Yeah, there were
Trying to mimic your own.
Yeah, there were a couple of days where I was probably still recording around 4 o'clock in the morning. But these were very exceptional days. It was something like, you know, I was so close to getting something, but I can't get it. So, but I'm still in the mood. So let's just keep going until I get it. So this was very rare, though. Maybe a couple of days only.
Hours of work.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised that you put me on the what do you call the title?
Yeah, the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I certainly did probably 3 hours with you.
Sure, but
But to me it makes sense now because you have done this thing alone.
yeah.
Okay, and there were just Minako.
Yeah, she helped me.
Yeah, and myself. So you know, I'm very privileged that I'm even on there.
Right.
But other than these two people, it was you
Pretty
doing
much.
all this work. And here's hats off to technology.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to redo the audio in such a way, and you know, back in the old days of actual tape,
Right.
it'd be impossible.
Impossible.
You know, to even make this kind of film. So it does give the film a cult like's the wrong word. Like it feels like it's this a chunk of history.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
There's no actual. You're not cutting back to some daggy old piece of tape. Even
Right.
can you explain the colouring of your sections? When it cuts to you, I even find that you've coloured your.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's where the good from the bad filmmakers comes.
Well, of course, when you are actually recording it on location, it's basically just the very default settings on the camera. So you just white balance to a white piece of paper, and it gives you exactly what you see with your eyes. So if it's a cloudy day, everything is going to look kind of grayish, right? The key to color correct is to bring out enough color, like skin tone and things like that. And also from the background, if you have some interesting trees, then perhaps you want to emphasize the green or something like that. But it was not too complicated. It was just very regular. The only problem was there were a couple of sequences that we shot with a very bad camera, and obviously the cheaper camera you go, then the less color correction you can do of it. It's just a technological limitation.
Let's go back to the film.
All right.
Were you happy with the ending? You know, where
Yeah.
how do you make so much? Did you actually plot this? Like,
Oh yeah. There would definitely every movie should start with a script. You should never, even if you watch the Angry Video Game Nerd on YouTube, for example, he's a guy who reviews video games, very popular. Even he writes scripts for his videos. You have to choose a part of a game specifically that you want to talk about. I want to talk about this part, and I want to say this about this part, and this joke comes here. So you have to script it out. Otherwise, it's a mess. You don't know what you're doing. So script is the first thing you need to do. If you write a script, to be honest with you, the easiest parts are always the beginning and the end, because you know how it's going to start and you know how it's going to end. The toughest part is that middle, and I hate that middle part. It's that 75% pretty much of the film that I call the filler. It's just something that you have to put in there, but
it's where producers introduce characters.
yeah.
What if we have the pretty girl, like the Hollywood
yeah
storyline?
right.
Yeah.
Of course, each script has a structure, so you roughly divide it into like 15 minutes for the intro, 15 minutes for the end, and how much you need in the middle, with a couple of what we call plot points, and that's kind of something you say or some action that you do that changes dramatically into the next section. So that I had to all think about that when I was writing it, yeah. But the ending, yeah, I was very happy with it. It just, for me being in Japan, Mount Fuji popped into my mind immediately, and I'm like, okay, we need to go to Mount Fuji to do that last shot. I know what I'm gonna say, but just having that mountain behind me, that's gonna complete the picture.
Our journey began 2 years ago, and it is only befitting that it ends right here, at the foot of Mount Fuji, symbol of life and death to many, to deliver final words of wisdom.
What was that called? Team America World Police.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the end they went, oh, we will never do that again, because they're filmmakers. They made basketball, but they actually made a blockbuster film out of puppets. The puppets were incredibly hard in their own languages, but they realised the art of explosions and blowing things up, and that filmmaking, they learnt to appreciate those cheeseball directors a whole lot more, because which is an art in itself, to command thousands of people with timings and explosions, and have you ever been on that kind of set, or would you have any interest?
Oh, I would definitely have interest. Yeah, I've never been on a big set. I think the biggest crew that I had was maybe 10 people. It depends. I'm not a fan of big crews, because it depends on the people you get. Especially if it's new people, you don't know those people. You don't know if they have a super high ego, or
Which they generally do.
some of them do, and then it just becomes impossible to work with. So I prefer to go with a small team, but very motivated people, and we know what we want to do, and we don't want to waste time. Let's just go,
Yeah.
The worst thing that can happen really is you're in the middle of some intense shot, and then somebody says, I want to go eat something, and then everything just completely grinds to a halt for an hour, and then it's very, very difficult as a director to pick up again, and to lift those people up again and to get going. So
Right. Especially when you're trying to create, you've got actors.
yeah, sure.
Wow. Documentary's the way to go, right?
Well, it's that's what I can do at this point. In Japan, it's very hard to get people, because everybody wants money. I can't pay the people. I'm very honest about that. But that limits me immensely. Actually, it just kind of binds my hands in this country. I can't do what I want to do sometimes.
Do they have an intern idea here, or actually that's
Some do, but it depends how they are educated, you see, because if they have a friend who's a foreigner and who's a filmmaker, that friend is going to tell them, Anything you do, you should get paid for that. This is the worst advice you can give to a beginner. When you are a beginner, yes, you should do things for free. Because who are you right now? You're a nobody. Nobody knows you, and nobody knows if you're good, any good or not.
Networking is...
Yeah, and then you do whatever you want, like after you've built up your reel, you know. This is one of the things, though, about the present society, is that everybody's consumed either by social media, or we're in Japan, and if you turn on the TV right now, I'm sure out of the 8 basic channels that we get, at least 6 of them is going to be some group of comedians talking about some absolute nonsense stories, you know.
And testing food.
Right.
In the daytime, yeah.
Right. And it's absolutely, I mean, honestly, what value is there from watching something like that? There is no value whatsoever. And, you know, I'm a guy who, I'm all about knowledge and education, and my movie was, I made sure that it's not one of those films that I'm at the top somewhere and I point my finger and you Christians are bad and you Muslims are bad, and I made sure to avoid that, because then people avoid the movie. But I made it in a very educational way. These are the facts, and here are some video clips that illustrate what I'm talking about. So it's not just random video clips, it's obviously a part of the whole bit, as I call them.
I don't believe you did it. You educated me. You know, it's a topic that everyone groans about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, and...
Me too.
Just, but to see all that televangelist behaviour, things we actually know, but I choose to, I've got the choice of channels now.
Oh yeah.
I actually never see televangelism anymore, because, it's one of those, instant click,
yeah.
Go to something else, or I don't even turn the TV on, let's face it.
Sure.
But to actually be reminded of it in your film, and to be reminded that humans are all the same, the basic need, and some of them just really do not mind stealing money out of people.
They don't, no.
To sell, they've just found a particular thing to sell.
Yeah.
And
they're selling an indivisible product, you know. But my thing is that you just look at all of them, though. Look at the car they drive. Look at, do they have a private jet? Some of them do, actually. There was a pathetic guy a couple of years ago. I forgot his name. An American.
I remember him. Yeah.
But he actually tried to crowdfund his own private jet. And
his second jet, I think it was an upgrade.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there was I can't recall his name either, but it was an upgrade of the jet that he already had.
That's insane. I mean, and again, look at the cars they drive. Look at how they dress. This is not a suit that he just picked up from the dumpster or he bought for $20 or something. This suit costs hundreds of dollars. He might have some jewelry which costs thousands of dollars, and you know where that money is coming from. It's not a secret, okay? And that just drives me insane.
So, almost on that note, put it there.
Yep.
JC, it's been great to talk to you again.
Sure. So by the way, you were asking me
yes.
How can people find my movie. So
yes.
I don't know if you're aware, but Facebook recently changed its system to the at something, kind of like Twitter, right? So if people go into the Facebook search bar and they just type at age reason, one word, it will bring them to my show's page, and through there they can buy the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Great, so just Age Reason, it's the Age of Reason podcast.
Yeah.
Frozen Frame Productions.
That's right.
And did I get it right that you are actually using your Facebook page, which is the greatest idea. We do it with our own business. It's the number one. You don't need your own website in this day and age, and it's the best way to find you. And I strongly urge everyone to chase this film up. You won't be disappointed. And most people often think, it's a homemade production. It'll feel like it's homemade. This one most definitely isn't. Right. rate it next to one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen with on a huge topic. So with great cinematography of some of the images you've used on a big screen. I imagine they look great. Beautiful sound and.
You're right. Definitely, this was because I have access to good equipment, and that helps with production for sure. Audio too, by the way, same thing.
Right. Well, definitely.
By the way, the next movie, if I can plug that in,
please.
It's gonna take a while though, obviously, because I'm not even in pre-production right now. But I want to make a kind of series of those films. So. The second one will be on conspiracy theories, because I feel like that's just like religion. It's people who believe it's just absolute woo nonsense ideas without any evidence, and I feel that's very related. So that's going to be the second movie.
Well, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. I'll tell you why, because it would be draining also.
Sure.
Oh, I know some conspiracy theorists, and they are painful.
Painful
people to talk to.
I want to try to get a bit more people involved. So, for example, if I'm going to talk about the moon landing hoax, because there are, of course, people who deny the moon landing, I might want to go to some planetarium in Tokyo and actually ask some person who works there. He's perhaps some scientist even who can give a short interview. So I'd like to incorporate more people if it's possible. It's always easy to start thinking big, or I'm going to interview like 20 people, but then when you actually start doing it and start to make those deals with people, you realize that it's not so easy. So,
right. Well, definitely subscribe to JC's Age of Reason podcast, his YouTube channel. Start with Facebook though, and order this film.
As a wise man once said, credere in niente ed essere nella vostra protezione contro tutto. Requiescat in pace.